The movie begins with a background voiceover, explaining that 2 decades had passed since the creation of vampires and werewolves. Victor, the leader of vampires, created a legion of vampires to protect his kingdom from the very first clan of werewolves. One day, a captive werewolf gave birth to a child called Lucian, the first of the Lycans. Victor came to slay the infant, but could not do it and returned. Years later, Lucian grows up and serves and helps Victor protect his realm from the ferocious werewolves that are determined to wipe out Victor's empire. Victor sends his slaves to Lucian's cell to get them infected by Lucian. Let's not forget that Lucian is a werewolf from within. This way, Victor created a new race of immortals called Lycans, werewolf but also human. Unlike the werewolves, the new breed could be harnessed, enslaved to guard the empire in the daylight. Now the scene shifts to a rider passing through the dense and sinister forest. Soon a pack of werewolves begins surrounding and lurking around the rider, prompting the rider to ride as fast as he can. The rider seems skillful and valiant, that's why he keeps slaying the incoming werewolves coming in his way. The valiant rider rides straight to Victor's fort, luring the werewolves along the way. The prepared army of Victor starts shooting arrows at the incoming werewolves. Meanwhile, Lucian arrives and aims at 2 werewolves pouncing at the rider, and manages to kill both of them in time. The rider takes off his mask, revealing herself to be a lady called Sonia, Victor's daughter. Victor arrives and asks Lucian if he feels his heart burdened while killing his own kind. Lucian responds in the negative, pleasing Victor. One of Victor's generals oppresses the enslaved Lycans working in the mine by whipping their backs for slacking. Lucian witnesses this and loses his temper, demanding that the general stop and leave. The same night, Lucian meets the love of his life, Sonia, the daughter of Victor, revealing that they have an illicit relationship. They make love, hiding themselves from everyone's eyes, and that's why Lucian was so perturbed to save Sonia from the werewolves when she was under attack on her way back to the fort. Lucian asks her if she will come with him if he were to leave from there. Sonia is stunned on hearing this, realizing that Lucian is making a plan to escape from the fort. She warns him not to even think of leaving because Victor will hunt him down. Lucian says that Victor can't track him if he breaks the collar, and he already has made a key to unlock his collar. Sonia shows her reluctance and doesn't give him a straight answer. So Lucian comes out with Sonia and lets her go while Tanis, Victor's henchman, secretly sees them from a distance. Human nobles are on their way to visit Victor, alert, implying that he has discovered his secret. In the forest, the human nobles are protected by Sonia and her soldiers, but soon their archenemy werewolves show up and attack the soldiers, knocking them off their horses. A brutal battle breaks out between vampires and the werewolves. Just in time, Lucian storms into the woods and launches a fierce attack on nefarious werewolves. One of the werewolves pouches at Sonia, knocking her off. One of the werewolves lunges upon Sonia, knocking her off the horse. Help her. He plunges the sword into the werewolf's back that was crawling up to Sonia to harm her. He pulls her out of the pit and finds himself and Sonia surrounded by a pack of menacing werewolves, which prompts him to unlock his collar to cope up with the situation. He soon turns into a full-fledged werewolf and howls back at his own kind to keep them off. Other werewolves become scared and back off, following Lucian's orders as if Lucian were their leader. Not long after, all the werewolves go back into the forest, leaving the human nobles with Lucian. Shortly afterward, Victor's men arrive and shoot arrows at Lucian-turned-werewolf, considering him to be one of the enemy werewolves. Sonia explains to Victor that Lucian broke the collar and turned into a werewolf to save her, but Victor doesn't listen to her and slaps Lucian for going against the law. Furious, Victor tells Lucian that his days of plush living are over. Victor takes Lucian to his fort and enchains him. Victor tells Lucian that he was always like a son to him. Then, he asks Kalaman, who already detests Lucian, to whip Lucian's back. Kalaman repeatedly lashes Lucian's back until it becomes bloody. Subsequently, unconscious Lucian is thrown into a cell on the orders of Victor. One of the human nobles pours water into Lucian's mouth to bring him around. Reyes, the captive nobleman, tells Lucian that he saw what he did in the forest to save all of them. Then Lucian asks him if he is afraid of him. Reyes replies in the affirmative and asks Lucian if he is like other werewolves. Lucian replies, "I am a Lycan, but not like them at all. Apart from this," he explains to Reyes that the animals they fought with in the woods were the spawns of William, an enemy of Victor. Those beasts are savage, mindless, and bloodthirsty. Reyes interrupts him, saying he saw the werewolves obeying him in the woods. This leaves Lucian speechless. Moments later, Sonia secretly visits the prison to meet Lucian, who informs her that Tanis has somehow come to know about their relationship, and he still hasn't told about it to Victor. So go and ask him what he wants in return. The human nobles arrive at the council to pay tribute to Victor for keeping them safe from werewolves. One of the nobles doesn't give Victor anything. Instead, he complains about the infection that spread in his silver mine that turned his miners into beasts. So he blatantly refuses to pay any tribute to Victor and addresses him as a devil, asking other nobles to look into Victor's devilish eyes. Victor gets into a rage, approaches the noble, seizes him and hurls him against the wall, killing him instantly. The other nobles become terrified and don't have the courage to speak their mind. Instead, they give silver coins as tribute to Victor. In the cells, miners begin fighting with each other, causing Lucian to blow up. He explains to them that they are not animals and aren't supposed to harm each other. Instead, they need to stick together and fight for themselves. Lucian reunites all the Lycans and explains that he has spent his entire life protecting Victor's realm, but Victor always treated him like an animal. So he stirs the other Lycans and asks them to be Lycans, not slaves anymore. Victor calls Sonia and asks her which Lycan they should promote in Lucian's place when he is gone. Sonia stammers while answering, prompting Victor to get suspicious of her feelings for Lucian. However, she manages to bottle up her feelings and suggests Jorg's name as Lucian's replacement. Sonia suddenly comes into Tanis' room and pulls a knife at him and asks him why he still hasn't told anything to her father about her relationship with Lucian. Then Tanis reveals his intention and says, "There are 12 council seats and I want to usurp your seat when you leave with Lucian." Sonia agrees and says that she wants something in return. Afterward, Tanis leaves her with Lucian for only 2 minutes in a secret chamber. Sonia tells Lucian that Tanis will secretly help them in exchange for a seat on the council. She further tells him Victor will have him killed tomorrow, so he must leave at sunrise. Moreover, I will be safely at Victor's side when you will be leaving, and if this plan works out, I will meet you in 3 days' time by the river after the sun sets. Afterward, she leaves. Tanis secretly gives Lucian a key to his collar and leaves at once. Kalaman leads captive humans to an alley where the Lycans infect the normal humans, making them Lycans too. Lucian and the others hear the heart-wrenching screams emanating from the alley and make a plan to escape together at sunrise. Kalaman is tricked into entering the cell and gets attacked by Lucian, who has now turned into a werewolf. He brutally butchers and tears apart Coleman's body, giving him his due. Then he stirs and rallies other Lycans, asking them to stick with him. He then liberates other Lycans and makes his own legion of Lycans. Lucian and the others begin rushing while killing Victor's guards along the way. Soon they caught the attention of other patrolling guards who begin shooting at them, trying to prevent them from escaping. During this stampede, many Lycans succumb to death, and many get trapped. Victor is immediately informed about the escape of Lucian and other Lycans. Meanwhile, Lucian and the rest of the Lycans manage to break out of the fort when the sun is beating down in the sky. Victor shows up, but can't do anything besides seeing the Lycans fleeing into the forest under the leadership of Lucian. He steps forward but gets burned by the sunlight, and is forced to retreat into his den. Victor summons Tanis and questions him about Lucian's collar key that he had entrusted to him. Tanis hesitantly replies that the key is in his room and offers to show it. Meanwhile, in the woods, the Lycans break the collars from around their necks that had prevented them from transforming into fierce werewolves. Lucian tells them they must fight their way back, as many of their brothers are still imprisoned inside the fortress. However, the other Lycans point out that they are few in number and have no weapons to fight with. Then Reyes leads them to his state, where they can find the weapons. Tanis brings Victor to his room and frantically begins looking for the key. Shortly, he finds it among other stuff and shows it to Victor, somehow saving his life. Lucian asks Reyes to go to other estates to seek help, and he will reunite with him in 2 days' time, and saying this, he leaves for other estates to ask for help against Victor. Sometime later, he arrives in a rocky valley which is infested with numerous werewolves. The roar of werewolves is so loud that it echoes throughout the forest and even travels to Victor. Victor sneaks into Sonia's room, startling her. He questions her if she helped him escape. Sonia plainly denies it. So Victor approaches and bites her to know if she is speaking the truth. He feels betrayed as soon as he learns that Sonia helped Lucian escape. He slaps her, knocking her onto the bed, and tells her that he already knew everything. She then confesses to Victor that she loves Lucian, leaving Victor shattered. Lucian returns to the forest and waits for Sonia as she was supposed to be with him by now. Victor attends the council, where Orsova reports that Lucian has raided 2 estates in Barshov and seized the contents of their armories. Koloman advises Victor to bring Lucian back, but Victor dismisses the suggestion, insisting that Lucian will return of his own free will because he possesses something Lucian desperately wants. Meanwhile, in the forest, a lady on horseback secretly arrives with a message from Sonia. She informs Lucian that Sonia has been arrested and that Victor has discovered their relationship. In his vast council, Victor drinks a cup of human blood. On the other hand, Lucian is ready to get Sonia out of the fortress and asks Reyes to act for him and lead the unit until he comes back with Sonia. Sometime later, Lucian sneaks into the fortress, dodging the vigilant guards. He diverts the guards' attention toward the alleyway, separating them from one another, which makes it easier for him to kill them. This allows him to reach Sonia, who had been longing to see him. He tells her that he came to take her away. Soon after, other guards discover their comrades lying on the ground and immediately grow alert. Realizing what has happened, they find that Sonia has escaped from her room. The guard immediately approaches Victor and informs him about Sonia's escape. Lucian and Sonia plan to escape through the underground tunnel, but barrels filled with gasoline are thrown in, igniting almost instantly. Though Victor does not wish to kill his daughter, he orders his men to set the tunnel ablaze. The fire quickly engulfs the entire mining area, forcing Lucian and Sonia to break out through a hole. Emerging from it, they clash with Victor's guards. After a grueling battle, Lucian is outnumbered and captured, while Sonia continues to fight her father, ultimately defeating him in combat. She asks him to order his men to let go of Lucian for the sake of his grandchild. Victor is shaken by the revelation. He declares that the life growing inside Sonia's womb is a monstrosity. Soon after, he captures her and orders the guards to take Lucian away. Both Lucian and Sonia are thrown into prison. Shortly afterward, Sonia is forcibly taken away while Lucian is shot with arrows, sending him into unconsciousness. Sonia is brought before the council, where she is charged with high treason against the coven. Victor sits silently on his throne as Koloman votes in favor of her execution, urging the others to support him. One by one, the council members agree, awaiting Victor's decision. With a heavy heart, Victor also stands with them, sentencing his own daughter to death. Lucian protests, reminding Victor that Sonia is his daughter, but his words fall on deaf ears. Both Lucian and Sonia are chained in the center of a chamber. On Victor's command, the guards whip Lucian's back before Sonia's eyes until he collapses unconscious. Victor glances briefly at Sonia before leaving her in chains. Moments later, the ceiling opens, allowing sunlight to pour down on her. As Sonia is exposed to the light, she is burned to ashes while Lucian, helpless, screams in agony. Elsewhere, Victor breaks down in private, devastated by the choice he has made. Later, he returns to the chamber, where Sonia's charred remains still hang from the chains. He retrieves the locket he had once given her as a child. Meanwhile, Lucian regains consciousness. Consumed by grief and vengeance, he begins to transform into his true self, a powerful werewolf. He retrieves Sonia's locket and escapes, despite the guards firing arrows and wounding him severely. Howling into the night sky, he summons the Lycans and the werewolves for his help. His brothers hear his anguished call and surge toward the fortress in a frenzy. Victor's army rains arrows down upon them, but they fail to stop the charging horde of Lycans and werewolves. An all-out battle erupts as the Lycans and werewolves storm the fortress. Amid the chaos, Reyes helps Lucian by pulling arrows from his back, then rushes off to free the other captives. Soon, the dungeon cells are opened, releasing the imprisoned Lycans into the fight. Victor himself descends into battle, leading his warriors against the uprising. When Lucian spots Victor across the battlefield, his rage boils over, and he pursues him without hesitation. Victor retreats into the Underworld tunnels, but Lucian chases him down. In a sudden ambush, Victor kicks Lucian off the edge, yet Lucian recovers and retaliates fiercely. Their brutal fight continues as they fall into a well, hanging from chains while trading blows. In the struggle, Lucian loses his sword, which sinks into the water. Desperate, he yanks the chains, unknowingly tearing open part of the wall and letting sunlight flood in. Victor is seared by the rays, and Lucian seizes the chance, binding him in chains and plunging his sword straight through Victor's mouth. Victor's body falls into the water, as Lucian at last smiles, having avenged Sonia. Lucian emerges from the fortress, greeted with triumph as the Lycans hail him as their leader. In the next scene, a boat quietly slips away from the fortress. On board lies Victor, still alive, going to hide in a coffin, and beside him is Tanis. In the closing narration, it is revealed to Sonia that her family was never slain by the Lycans, but by Victor himself. Yet he could not bring himself to kill her directly, for she reminded him too much of the daughter he condemned to death. And with this haunting truth, the story comes to an end.